New videos every day.
Are you always waiting for the next diet trend? Have you been looking for a way to lose weight for what feels like a long time? There's a lot of different motivations out there to lose weight, different things that are motivating us to lose weight. And in this video, I want to talk about those different motivations and what is the best way that we can actually lose weight in the most effective way. So while I was fumbling around on YouTube, I came across a video called the Photoshop effect, and it's actually a tutorial video teaching people how to do special effects in Photoshop. But they actually take a woman who, I'm not really good at guesstimating weight, but she's definitely on the heavier set side, and through Photoshop, they get her down to looking like a swimsuit model. Super trim, they add in ab definition, they sculpt her thighs, all this different stuff. And it just kind of started me down this venture of looking at some other YouTube videos. And Tim Lynch is a fellow who has some videos out there, and he talks about photoshopping, and he mentions that probably 99.9% of all of the photos we see in magazines, images that we see on television and billboards, things like that, all of these images are photoshopped. So what does that mean for us as girls wandering through life, trying to live our lives? It means that we're holding ourselves to really unrealistic expectations of what a woman's body can look like. And we've heard, people used to talk about the Barbie doll and talk about this, this same kind of issue, which is that if we are having an image of perfection that's not based on reality, and we're trying to measure up to that, and we're holding ourselves to that, then we're never, ever, ever going to be satisfied. Period. There's no way that you're ever going to be able to really look that way if the way that we're trying to look is totally photoshopped, is totally unrealistic. And so I started thinking, well, what is that doing to our self-esteem? What is that doing to our self-image and the way that we feel about ourselves? And I want to talk about that a bit today. Another point along those same lines is just to realize that looking at the US population, we've got closer to 2/3 of the population that are actually overweight or obese. But our image of perfection, our image of what women should look like, is being set by these Hollywood actresses and fashion models. In a lot of cases, these women are not only photoshopped, but they're also really unhealthy. Maybe they're anorexic, or they have another eating disorder, or maybe they don't necessarily have an eating disorder, but I definitely think that most of you could probably agree with me when I say that most of the models, most of the pictures that we see on billboards and fashion magazines, these women are way too thin. And not only is that not realistic for what even an actual thin person looks like, but it's not representative of what our population really is either. So I just want to make that point that just because what we're seeing all over the media and what we see in movies and all over magazines are these really, almost painfully thin women, that's not a direct reflection of reality. And if we're holding ourselves to those kind of standards of the way that we want to look, we're going to just keep running into a really, really thick brick wall. So another thing that I found on YouTube as I was fumbling around looking at weight loss are these thinspos or thinspirations. So these are pictures or video montages of images of extremely, extremely skinny women. And most of these videos are made as inspirations to other women to continue losing weight and to follow that goal of being really, really extremely skinny. And so they're pro-ANA or pro-ED groups, and there's just this huge community of women out there with eating disorders, or maybe they don't have an eating disorder, but they are very highly obsessed with their image or body image, or this image that they're trying to maintain. I consider myself incredibly lucky. I'm very grateful that I don't have an eating disorder like that. So I'm not in this video trying to speak to that or really trying to speak too much about eating disorders, but I just think it's important to recognize that this infatuation with thin is getting really extreme, and it's getting to a point where pretty huge percentages of women out there are kind of falling victim to this idea that women can and should be extremely, extremely thin. One last thing that I want to mention is I was flipping through some fitness magazines, and I was really shocked that there were predominantly the advertisements were for plastic surgery. And I just kind of realized the dichotomy. And the dichotomy is weight loss and fitness for an aesthetic, for looking a certain way, for meeting this certain image of what we think that women are supposed to look like or what we think is sexy, versus weight loss and fitness for health. And what a huge distinction that is. And so I encourage you, and what I've done for myself is to really think for myself, what is my inspiration? And how much am I being influenced and motivated by thinking I should look this certain way, or thinking that my esteem will be better if I look a certain way, versus being really driven by health and wanting to be healthy. And so the couple things I've talked about in this video, the aspect of photoshopping and plastic surgery and these really anorexic thin supermodels, in a lot of cases, what we think of when we think of someone being fit, or when we think of someone being thin, or we're thinking about our weight loss goal, that's not always healthy. And in a lot of cases, it's really extremely unhealthy. And so I want to make that distinction that for me, I prioritize health. I know that when I'm healthy, I'm gonna have a clearer mind, I'm gonna have less stress, the rest of my body functions are gonna be working, I'm gonna, in general, feel better about life and myself if my body is healthy. And so that's my motivating factor. And so I kind of challenge you to think for yourself about what your motivating factors really are. So of course, a huge motivating factor for everyone, including myself, is our self-esteem and how we feel about ourselves. But again, we can make that distinction between health and aesthetic. So are we feeling like if I look a certain way, everyone's gonna like me, or I would like myself if I was this weight, or I would be happy with myself if I was this weight, which would be focusing on the aesthetic, versus focusing on your health, which is you going, if I'm healthy, I'm feeling good about myself. And if I, reach this certain fitness goal or health goal, then I'm gonna feel good about myself. That's a lot more sustainable, and certainly a lot more healthy than if you're being motivated just by, you think others are gonna perceive you better or others are gonna like you better. In a previous video that we made about esteem and meeting the esteem needs, we make the point that esteem really has to come from the inside. There's really nothing that we can do aside from giving everyone in the world $1 million that's gonna make everyone in the world like us. It's just not possible. There's always gonna be people that are judgmental. There's gonna be other people that they're feeling bad about themselves, so they're gonna put you down to make themselves feel better. There's always gonna be somebody skinnier. There's always gonna be somebody richer. If we're finding our esteem in the way that other people are treating us or the way that we feel other people perceive us, we're really going down a long, winding road that's not ever really gonna land us in feeling good about ourselves. Self-esteem comes from within. Self-esteem comes from our own compassion and love for ourselves. And if you are someone who's maybe feeling like, if I look this certain way, I'll like myself better, or if other people like me better and think I'm skinny, I'll like myself better. I would just really encourage you to check out our esteem video, check out some other things, and really look at that and think, well, is this really a sustainable way for me to move through life? Because if you are functioning on the other hand, you're really motivated by your health and wanting to be healthy, then you've got not only a much healthier and more sustainable goal, but you're going to be feeling better about yourself too, because you know that what you're doing is good for your body and you're feeling good about yourself. Not only does being healthy actually make you feel better and make you think clearer and feel better about yourself, but also knowing that you're being motivated for the right reasons and knowing that you're not doing this for someone else. You're not doing this for what some other person thinks of you. You're really doing it for you. And that's going to be a lot better motivating factor in helping you have sustainable and healthy weight loss. The last thing that I want to point out is that if we are sacrificing our health in order to obtain a certain aesthetic or a certain look, then here's all the reasons that's bad. Number one, you're not healthy. Maybe you're okay now, maybe you're young now and you know that what you're doing really isn't that healthy, you know that it's really not that good of an idea. You should just recognize that you'll probably end up paying for it later. The thing about our health is that it doesn't always give us an instant consequence of our actions. It's something that, later on in life, we're going to end up with, a really significant disease, or we're going to end up with, huge health complications that we end up having to pay a whole lot of money to solve. So of course I could go on for hours and hours about why sacrificing your health to look a certain way is a bad idea. But I just want to say it very plainly. You'll pay for it later in your health. Also, looking at our aesthetic now of how we look, what's sustainable in terms of how we really feel about ourselves? Because the truth is we all get older, even me. We all get older, and eventually all of that's going to fall by the wayside, and we're going to have the way that we feel about ourselves, and we're going to have the amount of love in our life, the amount of friendships and relationships and the relationships that we have with people. The way that we look at some point really just is going to stop mattering. We're going to lose control over that. We're going to be older, and all of that stuff is not going to matter anymore. So again, something that, looking down into the long term, your health is going to be something a lot more beneficial to you to have 10, 20 years down the line than the way that you looked when you were 19 or the way you looked when you were 20, if you're sacrificing your health for that aesthetic. That said, a lot of us still definitely want to lose weight, and hopefully we're wanting to do it in a healthy way. So in a future video, I'm going to give you 10 tips on how to lose weight in a healthy manner. And in another video, I'm going to talk about exercising and give you some guidelines on how to maximize your weight loss with your workout. So thank you for watching today. I'm really interested to know your response to my video and to know your thoughts, whether they're about esteem or about weight loss or self-image. I'd really like to know if you have any advice to share or if you have questions. So please leave me a comment, and please give me a thumbs up if you liked this video, and be sure to subscribe to the Psychetruth channel, where you can find tons of videos about nutrition and esteem and fitness, pretty much anything your little heart desires. Thanks.